But today we must take a wider look. Because of modern communication and modern technology, the whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. We are here, Sharpen, man. Let's see what's going on with my music here. It's not playing. Oh, it does it again, man. There it is. There it is.
I don't want to sing the latest song.
All right. This is my brother's favorite song.
It's my theme song right
It's a theme song. It's called You Cover Me. And obviously, we don't own the rights to this music, so please don't block it. But we're going to play a little bit of it. Just a little bit of clip. Timothy Reddick. So if you, it's called the Timothy Reddick Project. You Cover Me. So play a little bit of that. Let that sit in.
You covered me in the midst of it all.
All right, we just give them one shot. They got to go look for it. So that's a good song, man. I was about to go in. I'm sorry.
Was that you singing, Jose?
No, that wasn't me, man.
Okay.
I wish, man. I wish that was me. That was Wade singing, man. Wade's got that gift, man. So that wasn't me. But man, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sharpen, man. We're super excited tonight to be in your living room, on your mobile device, wherever you're at, tuning in, man. If you are watching us, do us a favor and just put in the chat there where you're watching from. Just type in, where you're watching from. Love to say hi, and do us a favor as well. Continue to share this out with your networks, as these conversations of Sharpen are really just to, excuse me, continue to highlight and dive deep into topical, intentional conversations surrounding areas of faith, family, and community, and what that really looks like in a real life way, and what it looks like to have a community of support that will step into the ring with you when you're able to take that big risk in these areas. And so, man, I'm super excited. I got Brother Patrick is in the room again, man. He's co-host, and my other brother Wade's back, man. You heard his story. If you haven't heard that, take a look back, couple strings back, and take a look about the release, man. It's a powerful testimony, man. And my special guest Wade is in the house tonight. The other co-host for us tonight, man. So I'm super excited to have you, bro.
For sure.
So, man, we are here. My name's Jose, and I'm just honored and humbled to be in a group of men with some brothers on this journey of life, and really just diving in about who we are. Again, like, what is Journeyman? Why do we keep saying Journeyman? I'll get to my notes here, but what does it look like for men who are living on purpose, right? Who are living their calling, who are stepping into the arena of areas of risk in the areas of faith, family, and community. We want to have intentional, organic conversation and have fun. We hope that this content is providing some valuable resource for you, and really just looking at different men that are coming into this room that are average men. But we just identified ways that we believe that help us get through different areas in our life. So super excited, man. We want to continue to create communities of support, of commitment and accountability to strengthen our lives in the areas of faith, family, and community. Mm-hmm. Our conversations are about commitment and accountability, of course, but we want to mainly focus on strengthening our weaknesses, what we're good at, time, learning, and increasing our knowledge from and skill from one another. That's why we use the scripture of Proverbs 27:17 as iron sharpens iron, one sharpens another.
Mm.
We are a faith-based, mission-minded group of people. We are not a organized type of organization, but we are just men journeying together in this thing called life. And we believe that talking about Jesus and the salvation of that is essential. But we want to continue to deepen that conversation about having conversations about things that others are not in the areas of commitment and accountability for support for the journey. And so I'm excited, man. Woohoo! There's that clap. We got my brother George Retanya is in the house, man, and I'm just excited to hear his story. You've probably seen him on a couple podcasts as a co-host, but again, we're diving deep tonight and really who is George Retanya, man. So
well,
let's ask that question.
Even if we weren't excited when George walked in the room, and then the fire, he just
He just
put this
brought
place
it,
on
right?
fire. It's like we better be awake for this one.
Like that, yeah.
He woke us all up.
He sure did. He lit the fire tonight.
That's it.
Hey, George, can I ask you a quick question? This is for the brothers that are possibly not non-Latin
Yeah.
background. Can you say your last name for us, like with the full accent and all of that?
Yeah,
man?
give it to him, man.
Retana.
There it is.
my God.
Ratana.
Retana.
Oops.
That's some,
You can roll your R's if you want.
that's some fire with that, brother.
Yeah.
Thank
Jose,
you.
don't touch that.
I'm
button.
sorry, man. I'm just having fun. The coffee got me going, man, and the gingerbread cookie. So that was fun. So, man, I'm excited, man. Tonight, George Retanya, man. Let's start with that. Like, who is George Retanya?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with my brethren. It's different when you're not co-hosting.
Right, you're the
but,
spotlight tonight, huh?
Who am I? Well, first and foremost, I am a believer in Christ, follower of Christ. I'm a husband to my beautiful wife, Crystal Eve Retana.
Hey,
roll that.
wow.
Baby girl, if you're looking, I'll be home soon.
Watch out, take it easy.
I'm a father. We're a blended family. I'm a father to my 15-year-old daughter, Nevaeh. Rochelle, she's 15. My other daughter, Ruby Marie, who's 10. And our youngest baby girl, who's about to be 1 on Sunday, Amariah Jade.
Wow.
And, we've been busy, so I got another one on the way that's due in April.
Hey.
So,
Wow.
Hey.
definitely been, the Bible says to be fruitful and multiply.
Come
so
on,
definitely
sir.
being obedient.
Come on, sir.
Marine Corps veteran. I served in the Marine Corps just under 7 years, close 7 years. Did 2 combat deployments to Iraq. Great time in the Marine Corps. Served as a M1A1 tank crewman, Marine Corps tanker. My first enlistment and my second enlistment, I served as a Marine Corps drill instructor. Awesome time in the Marine Corps, awesome career. And now I am the president of a nonprofit organization called Veterans in Action Incorporated, and that's pretty much who I am. We wear different hats, but I'm just a normal guy trying to serve, and just call me George.
George of the jungle, man.
Nice.
Hey, no, man, I'm excited, man, because I've known George for a long time, and just seeing and the evolving of your walk, the journey that you've been on through. I mean, just talk a little bit about high school, man. Like how did your life grow up there, man? What did that look like for that journey of manhood there?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I say I'm a follower of Christ, but I didn't always know who
Right.
God was. Just share my story here. Started off, like many, with a very rough childhood. My parents divorced when I was about 5, so broken family. My dad remarried my stepmom, my mom remarried my stepdad, and just brokenness, family. Very abusive childhood on both ends. Towards high school time, I ended up getting into a intense conflict with my mom and my stepdad, and they're like, it's time for you to leave. So in high school, it's one of the reasons why I joined the Marine Corps. My senior year in high school, I was homeless for a little bit. I was a senior in high school. I turned 18 March of 2005. Ended up on the streets and couch surfed for a little bit. I had an uncle that I would stay at his house for a little bit and just stay at different friends. But for the most part, it was pretty rough, man. I remember just being homeless, man, and eating out of trash cans and
Wow.
taking a shower at the locker room in school. And one of my teachers ended up finding out, and long story short, she helped me get emancipated. I was able to graduate about 2 months before my class, and I shipped off to Marine Corps boot camp. So from the get go, man, life has been very, it was a rough life growing up. Rough lot. Saw a lot of DV at home. My siblings and I, we suffered abuse. Just so much going on, and in that, it progresses as I got older, to the point where I just ended up, when I joined the Marine Corps, in 2005. I went to boot camp April of 05. I've never lived back in my hometown since then.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been gone now for 17 years.
Wow,
17 years.
man. Wow. What was one thing that you did in high school? What extracurricular activity did you
I
do?
was your typical jock. The whole
Hey,
Letterman's jacket and
watch out.
everything. I played football, soccer, and track. The whole CIF
What?
champions. All that.
Hey.
Yeah, I got my Letterman's jacket full of all the patches and MVP and all
That's
this.
cool.
It's crazy. I had a bunch of. I was really into sports. That was, I guess, my outlet in high
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
So that was pretty cool.
yeah. No, I bring that up because there's probably a million Georges out there with that background.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
especially people of color, Hispanics. We fathers in Hispanic culture. Sometimes depends on the generation, right? It just kind of just trickles down into our generation. I'm a little bit older than you, but um, sometimes in the Hispanic generation, it's about machismo and
Oh, yeah.
how
Yeah.
you grew up that way in that sense. And so I bring that up because there's probably a lot of individuals that can relate with your story as far as the outlets, high
Yeah.
school soccer, that type of
Yeah.
stuff.
No, yeah, definitely sports was my outlet, and I thank God for that, because, I think because of sports, I didn't end up, going into drugs and
Right.
stuff I could have gone into to cope with
Uh-huh.
what was going on at home,
Wow.
Yeah.
And, so I joined the Marine Corps. I put it this way, bro. For my high school graduation, my mom walked on stage for me to receive my diploma for me, because I was already in boot camp,
Wow.
and never looked back, never went back home. I would go to visit, but never lived there. Joined the Marine Corps. Like I said, I had a great time in my career. I deployed to Iraq the first time, to the country of Iraq, in 2006. I was gone, I believe, September of 06 through May or April of 07. And that is a story in itself, man. Went to Iraq, the combat zone of Iraq, and it was pretty crazy, man. We did see a lot of stuff. We did go through a lot of things over there. Lost good friends. A lot of combat, and in that, my first deployment, I actually was I was blown up twice. My tank hit 2 IEDs. If you don't know what an IED is, it's a improvised explosive device. If you know anything about the M1A1 tank, Abrams tank, it's 72 tons of steel.
Jeez.
We got some pictures.
Yeah. You want to put those up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my second IED, that's what was left of my tank, man.
Wow.
God spared me. I was trapped inside of it. Tank caught on fire. We hit they EOD. They guesstimated that it was about a 500-pound bomb.
Wow.
Completely melted the tank, destroyed it. I had my gunner and we had been knocked.
You were
out.
inside.
I was inside. I was
Yeah.
knocked unconscious. My gunner was knocked unconscious, and
Wow.
our tank commander and loader had to pull us out. We had a what you call a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, and we just got out of the tank, hid behind the other tank. We're in the middle of an Iraqi city, and long story short, we sat there for 13 hours watching our tank burn before they came and rescued us. And
in the middle of the desert.
in the middle of the desert, in the middle of a city called Haklania, a city in Iraq where they were known for a lot of IEDs and suicide bombers. They had a mixture of those. And as we're sitting there, long story short, it was God, bro. God spared my life. God, not knowing anything, not thinking about. I was not
right at that time. You had no idea who that was.
I was like, to me, God was just whenever you need something, I guess,
right.
The simple, but didn't have faith in God, didn't believe in God, and He spared my life. And I didn't burn alive or nothing, So
that's crazy,
God.
man.
God at that time was a credit card for you.
Oh, bro,
man, that's good.
Credit card with interest, bro. Let me tell you, man.
That's good.
And I don't know if you're going to go into this later, but where is that tank that was that you were blown up in now?
That tank is in the museum somewhere.
Wow,
I can't remember what museum, but it's in the museum somewhere. I think it's either Camp Pendleton or 29 Palms, but it was one of the tanks that that's what was left of it.
Wow.
Right when they pulled me out, because the tank was on fire when we hit the bomb, it was it instantly lost power. I'm knocked unconscious. My gun is knocked unconscious.
Wow.
And long story short, when we get out, we're hiding behind the other tank. Secondary explosion. All the ammo we had, all the main gun battle tank, the main gun rounds, the 50 caliber, the grenades blew up.
Wow.
Some of the armor in the front, they're 500-pound doors. They're called skirts. They were like launched football field away. So it was definitely God, and came back. I ended up redeploying, and I was deployed again in 2008, and just God has been good, man.
Yeah. So in the ranks, I mean, before you got to this level, in a sense of a tanker, like boot camp, you went through boot camp, and
Yeah.
and how did you rank up? What did that look
I
like?
did pretty well in boot camp. Did very good. I was a squad leader. I was got in the most motivated award in Marine combat training. I was very successful in my career. I can honestly say that I had a really great career. I moved up rank quick, really fast. By the time I was 21, I had 2 combat deployments under my belt. I had just reenlisted. You know, uh, I was previously married. I got married real young. Got a big old bonus when I went to San Diego. Talk a little bit about that. Divorce and mental health. And yeah, man, I was when it came to my career, it was like successful.
Wow.
Successful.
Hmm.
Moved up the ranks quick, and I just loved it. I was good at being a Marine.
Mm.
Definitely good at being a Marine.
What would you say is what is a golden nugget in the Marines? Like, what did you love the most about it?
Oh, it's that'd be simple. It'd be the brotherhood, that you share. Although like any family, there's a lot of bickering here and there, but the brotherhood in the Marine Corps was genuine. As in, I actually did my term paper for my sociology degree on the loneliness of society and how veterans, when we come back into society, we're unable to integrate back into society because in the Marine Corps you develop a tribal closeness. There's a brotherhood. You go through life together, you go through the war together, you laugh together, you cry together. Then you develop a tribal closeness, right? We're social creatures, especially as men. So when you come back, it's like you don't have that. So there was definitely I had so many great friends in the Marine Corps, awesome brothers. Just the closeness of the friendships and the brotherhood, and just knowing that we have a saying, "I got your six," and then we had each other's back.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good. Anybody else got anything before we move on?
I was just looking at the parallels sometimes in dealing with law enforcement, how, when you came out of the military, that your sense of brotherhood and kind of lost with
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
Mhm.
inside it, there was all of that. And you just see people in jails and prison,
Yeah.
and then they come out and they're kind of, who am I outside of jail
Great
and
point.
Oh, that's
prison?
truth.
And
Great
where
point.
where are we in feeding that, and where are we at and helping those brothers and sisters out? That same thing with military.
yeah. No,
I was just thinking about a parable.
no, definitely, yeah, definitely relatable. Yeah, and like I said, I served 7 years. So obviously, when there was a time in my life when I came back from my second deployment. I came back. I was gone pretty much all of 2008. So again, I was deployed '06 into '07, and then redeployed all of '08.
Wow.
And I came back. That's when I started realizing, I had certain, we talk about men's mental health. I had certain men's, mental health issues. I attempted suicide by gun.
Mm.
For those of you that don't know my story, I attempted to shoot myself 3 different times with a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber pistol.
Wow.
I was really drunk Christmas Eve of 2008. I just got back from Iraq. Did not know God at this time. Like I said, I was previously married. My ex-wife and her family are there. Everyone's just having a great old time in Christmas, and I'm just out of my mind,
Yeah.
drunk. I was, when I say I was an alcoholic, man, I was an alcoholic. Like, I was drinking so much alcohol, I could not operate without it. It would seep through my pores. And I
Wow.
remember that evening, I was really intoxicated. I held the pistol, loaded it, back to back, pointed it to my head, click, it ended up jamming. I remember I did the same thing, rack to back, click, pointed it, put it in my mouth, jammed. And then the third time it jammed, I ended up passing out drunk. And the next day, they found me
Wow.
passed out. And I knew I had issues,
Mhm.
but as Jose alluded to it earlier, as Latino men, and just men in general, like, we don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
So my thing was, I had just, came back from Iraq. I had just reenlisted and put in my package to go be a drill instructor in MCRD San Diego. I had just got my condo in San Diego. I had it all. I had a nice 300 with the 28-inch rims. I had a 2-story condo in San Diego, a motorcycle. I mean, that was living it up, right? But in here mentally, I was definitely lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men, we don't ask for that help. So for me, it's like as long as I drowned myself in my career, I was good to go.
Oh,
And
man.
because I had re-enlisted in Iraq, I'm 21 years old at the time. I got a fat bonus. I got $27,000, $27,500 tax. Long story short, I went through that, and but still the suicide, the alcohol, trying to drown myself, and my oldest daughter, I had her out of wedlock. I had her when I was very young, just the life I lived, it was missing. So I was trying to fill that void with everything but God, but community.
Yeah.
I had my daughter when I was young, it was a one night stand kind of deal. Got a DNA test after my first deployment. Boom, find out she's 99.9% mine, right? And you go through these things as men, but you don't say anything. You just keep it. You just bury it.
Right.
And again, struggling with the alcohol, and it came to the point after the suicide. After the suicide attempt, my oldest daughter was going to be 2. And I really thought, I'm like, God, like I need to make changes. One of my favorite quotes is from a gentleman. He's a theologian, and he says that it's called the redemption human process, right? And he says, I'm paraphrasing that, there came a point in life where the transitory redemption process where change is no longer voluntary, it's mandatory. And I knew something needed to change in my life. And, I gave my heart to the Lord in, January 3rd, 2010. And, God's done a great work since, the alcohol, all the stuff I struggle with. But in that, you still live with certain things as men.
Right.
I went through, went to start going to church, getting connected to church, and, getting connected to different things. But you start going through things in life that, a lot of times as men, and I did this a lot, even in my military career, is like you bury it. It's like a trash can. What do we do? Sometimes we don't want to take out the trash. We push it down. We just push it down. We keep pushing it down. But what happens after a while? The trash can starts to smell.
Yeah.
You start to get flies that lay maggots. The back starts to tear, and eventually that junk's going to come out. And I got to that point in my life where, as a man, like I can only go so far.
This is after you felt the Lord.
This is even after I felt the Lord, even after I felt because you start dealing with your thoughts,
Wait a minute. So when you give your life to the Lord, nothing was perfect right after that? Like the very next day, it just didn't poof go away?
Definitely.
What?
Biggest misconception is that.
Are you sure?
Right.
Yeah, the biggest misconception is when you give your heart to the Lord, everything gets better. No, there are things we have to deal with, and finding God. No, I believe God did a work, but there was things I needed to work on. And I just, started going to church, and just years went on, and, ended up moving over this way. And, about, 5 years ago, I go through a divorce.
Yeah.
I go through the divorce while I'm in church. Right. A lot of people don't know this, but, I've kept it a secret for the longest time. But, at the time, my ex-wife was committing adultery. She was having an affair with another married man. And even in the church, I'm going through these mental health things.
Yeah.
And I remember the church hurt, and the church turning its back on me. Friends that I would help, that they completely, you're divorced, so we can't talk to you. Things are going on. And the depression. So even in God, you go through these things, right? I went through that depression. I went through that anxiety. You go through that sense of feeling worthlessness, that sense of feeling nothing. The suicidal thoughts arise, depression, So here I am trying to juggle, be a single father, going through a divorce while trying to balance, how to seek God. So that's great that you asked it. A lot of people think when you could God, it's all roses and Skittles, and you don't have to pay taxes. The reality is you have to pay taxes. It's nibbles and Skittles. You know what I'm saying? But in that, you learn to really, and if I can title my life, and I wrote this down, the title would be "Broken to be Restored." It's in those times of brokenness you really begin to ask for help. And I remember going through my divorce. This man, it would pull me out of my house, but I did not know how to reach help. I didn't know how to say, "Hey, I'm not doing good." And I did the same thing. I drowned myself in school, kept on 9-10 classes at a time, stayed busy so I wouldn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And as men, I believe there are so many men out there that they don't know how to reach out to. Nobody teaches us how to reach out for help.
And not just men, but you were in the 3M category. You want to tell the
yeah. So I have this theory. One of my counselors, when I went through counseling, she told me this: you're the triple M, the 3 deadly M's. I was like, what's that? You're a Mexican male Marine. and you're a machista,
Mm.
and it's true. You don't know how to ask for help. You figure as long as I do work, as long as I provide, I'm good. And going through this divorce, church hurt, experience this, losing, feeling like I had nothing.
Yeah.
And you go through it. It's funny how God works it out. Years later, 4 years later, wife, and my wife Crystal, and just the I had to go through that brokenness to understand what it really was to love.
Yeah.
And I meet my wife, we've been married now going on 2 years next month, and
Good job.
just the brokenness and learning how to love, learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to ask for help. And let me tell you, man, like God does everything. I know we have some that may not understand, but the things that God does is so beautiful. And being in the situation I am now, I'm married with 3 daughters, and we will find out the new baby's gender soon. Hopefully, it's not a girl. But I had to, I had to learn, and I had to allow myself to be loved. And that's something my wife taught me, was like, it's okay to be loved. It's okay for me to love you. It's okay to put your guard down. And a lot of people don't know this. My wife's, about 8 years younger than me, and she be putting me in check sometimes. She has to teach me some things. Yeah, man.
Hey, man, dude, you got a 8-year younger wife.
Yeah.
George fits in the category of me and Jose, where we're way out of our league. So,
Yeah, exactly.
welcome to the club.
Hey, man.
So it's like, it's definitely it's a learning. But and when I share my story, it's like, I try to be as transparent as possible. So what do you do when you're that man that's going through life, when life does hit you, when things do arise? As a Christian, as a Marine, as a father, as a husband, there are times where it doesn't matter what hat you're wearing, you go through certain things. You go through real life situations, and I was actually, just so I don't butcher it, like I had some statistics on my phone. Like, I mean, we talk about men, right? One male dies by suicide every 14.4 minutes in the US. There are 3.9 male deaths by suicide for each female death, most by firearms. Like, there's something going on in the community of men that causes, oh, how do we reach out?
Yeah.
And I had to learn this. So you go through all these things in life, right? You go through things. And I'm 35 years old now, and I've just learned how to reach out. Again, I have a daughter who's 15, and I just, Jose knows a lot about it. I went through some crazy stuff with my oldest daughter this last year, like stuff that broke me, stuff that another man saw me crying. Like you get broken in life, you go through certain things, but to where I was at a year ago, where I couldn't ask for help, here I am, like the community of men, the relationships you begin to build. And if me thinking that I'm a man's man, I'm tough, I'm a Marine, I'm a combat hardened veteran, I've been through life. But if I felt this way, how many other men who may be struggling, who are going through things, who are afraid to ask for help, who are, afraid to reach out and say, you know what, I need some help. And it took me a long time to do that.
Yeah,
George, I hate to cut you off. Like, you're on this run, but I got to slow you down on that point right there, because there's many, many men. You said it several times. How do we get to the place that we ask for help? How did you get there?
Well,
because there's a lot of men out there that, they might be sitting at home, and sitting in a dark room, but their phone is the only light, and they're like, I know I need help, but I ain't gonna go.
This sounds crazy. Obviously, I attribute a lot to God, and it's funny because my degree's in sociology. I love sociology, and I had to unlearn a lot of stuff. I had to unlearn a lot of stuff about machista, like tough it up, suck it up. When you're broken, you get humbled. Life will humble you real quick, and you get to that point where you have to ask for help. And I got to that point, I think, when I realized that in and out of myself, I did not have the answer. Obviously, God, but I knew that there was, how can I say it? I had to relate back to that military training, that tribal closeness. There's a community of men around me, and obviously, there's been mother figures in my life that can help me. But it's up to me, like, and it's funny because I think about that. I can need all the help I want, but unless I voiced it. Right. So it was laying aside that pride and getting to that point where, like, it's okay to ask for help. I attribute a lot of education. I had some awesome professors in college that poured into my life. It was just, to me, it was getting to that point of brokenness where it's like, if I don't ask for help right now, I'm going to die. In every aspect, every situation of my life.
Okay, so I'm so glad for whatever. I feel the pulse right now, right on that point right there, because I need to ask. I'm going to ask it, and then brothers, if you can relate as well. But was there a point that actually where it became physically that you couldn't ask for help? Because there's sometimes, I know for myself, when I get stuck, sometimes it's like a physical wall that I can't And I'm trying to say, how did you get past those times? You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
again, and that's a good question, brother. Again, I alluded to it earlier. Community, like that physical, I was stuck there. It took another grown man challenging me, saying, "I'm here,"
Oh,
and breaking that barrier. Because again, like when I went through, what I was going through, I remember I locked myself. I was going through depression, and nobody would have known. I was in school at the time, in college,
Church.
church, leadership in my community. This is almost 5 years ago, going through my divorce, right? All this stuff, drowning myself in school, president's list, dean's list, A student. Nobody knew that in my mind I was battling demons,
Mhm.
but it wasn't until another brother, was able to physically, I'm here. And I had nowhere to run.
That's
There gets a
powerful.
point in your life where you have nowhere to run.
That's
True.
how strong he is. Of course, he had nowhere to run.
That's powerful what you're saying,
I'm a
that
teddy
that,
bear.
that you actually allowed another man to touch you,
Yeah.
to
well,
move you.
Well, even then, I remember when you showed up to my house, because you showed up with coffee, Starbucks. He's like, "You need to come out." I remember, and this is one of my closest friends.
Mhm.
I tried to fight him that day. Like I physically, I was like, "Dude, you about to get knocked out."
I get it.
But I needed that challenge where I realized,
Right.
like, man, it's so easy to tell other people to reach out. It's so
That's
easy
so
to
good,
encourage
George.
other people to pray. It's so easy to
So
pray for
good.
other people. It's so easy to give counseling.
Mhm.
But what about when you need it? What about when you need someone to
Oh,
pour
my
into you,
God.
right?
Mhm.
And I was at that point in my life where I knew I had exhausted myself in pouring out.
That's good.
And in that, I believe had I not asked for help, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to become the man I am to my wife now.
Mm.
I would not have been able to become the father that I am now.
Speak
The
that.
vulnerability. There's a very good author. Her name's Brene Brown. She writes a lot of awesome books. But
Renee, yeah.
Brene
Mm.
Brown. Sorry, I always kid her name.
Yeah.
Brene Brown.
That's
And,
good.
and in that vulnerability, like, you know what?
Mhm.
And in that, it has changed the dynamic of my relationships
Yeah.
with my oldest daughter, my younger ones. I'm learning, and even remarrying, being in a blended family, like
Yeah.
my wife. Like just I had to learn to humble myself and do this to be the husband. Am I perfect? Oh, by no, I'm not. I'm
Mm-mm.
perfect.
Mm.
But I think we have this stigma, like as men, you can't ask for help. You can't humble himself. Like God Himself was humble. This is
Yeah.
God. This is God of
Say
heaven. This
that,
is the
brother.
Mhm.
the creator of the universe who could, with the snap of a finger, end us all. But He showed so much humility.
Right.
He showed even in His time of need where He struggled in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah.
He was about to go to the cross, and He said it 3 times: "Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass me." If God Himself can humble Himself and admit, who am I?
Yeah.
So learning to ask for help and building the community that I'm now in, I really believe in that healing process, in that humility, in that change of life, and again, like I like what Patrick says, like just because you're a Christian doesn't mean your life is all Skittles and rainbows. It's really not.
Powerful.
You
Powerful.
That
go, you
was
go through
powerful.
things, right? You
Yeah,
go
that's
through
good
things,
stuff.
Mhm.
but never losing sight of, I knew that God was real, and
Yeah.
there's one of my favorite verses in the scriptures that says the steps of a good man are ordered by
Truth.
the Lord.
Yeah.
He says the steps.
Yes.
Could be my bad steps. Could be my
Mhm.
lonely steps.
Yes,
It could
sir.
be my hurtful steps. It could be my
Crooked
steps of
steps.
You're preaching
crookedness.
now.
It could be my steps of disbelief, anger, and hatred.
He feel his help.
And I was like, man. And then in the
Yeah.
term of what is a good man?
Yeah.
I've never considered myself to be a good man.
Mm.
I've not, but allowing my steps to be ordered. What is good man? I believe it's just that humility. Like,
Yeah.
and then when I begin to ask for help, I really
Mm.
believe my relationships, like with God, with my family, with my daughter, with my wife, again, like I don't think I would have ever remarried because I would have never healed.
Yeah.
But in that process of healing, in that process of asking for help, look, I have a beautiful family
Yeah.
now. I have a beautiful family. I thank
Yeah, you
God
do.
for it. And
Blessed.
in that, it's like, how do we push forward? So it's like, I know there are so many men that are going through things. I know that there are men that are struggling. Like,
I have to capture that too.
Go for it.
You
Mhm.
said earlier, if something didn't change, then I was going to die.
Yeah.
That's good.
And
Touch
how many people? I mean, if you were to look into that camera right now, and they say, some other day, not
That's
now,
good.
but eventually I will. Nice podcast, but whatever.
Mhm.
But you said that if something didn't change, I was gonna die. And how many people are listening right now
My God.
saying,
Mhm.
if something doesn't change, I'm going to die? What would you say?
well, I mean, it's funny you say that. Not funny, but like, okay, so In my mind, it's like I think it's Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again, expecting different results. We know that there is an issue amongst the men's community. We know suicide rates are high. We know there's a lot going on. We know there's mental health. So for me, it's like, how do I encourage men? Because you may not die physically, but you can die emotionally. You can die spiritually. You can die mentally. You know, I really believe that, you know, in our journey through life, you know, how do we break that cycle? You have to, you know, it's funny because I alluded to it earlier. I'm now rekindling relationship with my dad and, you know, my parents, my step parents, like, you know, we're rekindling, you know, and even just looking at my family's history, you know, my dad did the best he could with what he had, what he learned.
That's good.
And then his dad, you know, and so we have so many generational curses. It's repetitive cycle.
Layers.
And I knew I have to make changes or I'm going to repeat the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm a divorcee. My dad and mom are divorcee. My grandparents are divorcee. It's generational. Mental health, suicide. How do you break that? And even in God, you know, there's a scripture that says, God, you know, you break those generational curses, but you have to take action. You have to really begin and say, you know, educate yourself and like, what changes are you going to make? Because what, you know, I realize is, you know, I got three daughters that are looking at me. They're watching my every move. Am I the type of man that I want my daughters to marry? That's a challenge in itself. And I need a lot of improvement. Like, would I let my daughters be with a guy like me?
Yeah.
Would I let, you know, and a lot of times it's like we keep stuff in, not knowing how it affects others. And you know, in vulnerability, you know, it's such a negative term. Like we were talking about that documentary, The Mask You Live In. We all have these masks as men. In church, I'm one guy. In church, I'm the guy that's fired up. In the veteran community, I'm the veteran that's helping people. And in this, I'm helping homeless and I'm a husband. But who am I inside? When it's just a man and his thoughts in his pillow, what is going through your mind? And it's in those moments of openness and vulnerability where you know, I really believe had I not reached out for help, had I not reached out for community, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna jump in a little bit. So the conversations that we're having as journeymen is that we want to lead these conversations towards commitment and accountability. And so, you know, we've been starting, we're gonna call these the 5 conversations of journeymen. And we hope that this framework would help men lead other men or be with other men in these areas of conversation where there is commitment and accountability. So kind of what you're talking about is, you know, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, we all are, and saying we're going to commit to strengthening our own weaknesses. That's looking ourselves in the mirror.
Yes, sir.
It's ugly.
Well,
It's
takes,
ugly.
It takes a lot.
Right.
To
It takes,
save
yeah, exactly. So and to get to that place, there has to be a journey to get to that place, right? You talked about your story. And that's a journey to get to that place where you're going to say, I have to look myself in the mirror and I have to know, I have some major weaknesses. However, there is some giftings, there are some things that I have strengths on that I can share or be a strength to my brother, but knowing that my weaknesses are there.
Wow, and just as you were saying that, the scripture that popped into in my weakness, I am strong in Him, right, in Christ, and it's like changing the culture of reaching out for help. Like for me, you know, I know one of the questions, what was journeyman to me? I really believe, bro, had you not reached out during one of my lowest times,
Yeah.
ain't no telling. Suicide could have crept back in, mental health could have crept back in, but I had that accountability, and I think a lot of times as men, you know, we even in that, it's a whole nother topic. We don't like to be held accountable sometimes because you're checking each other. But that community, you know, where, you know, again, in the Marine Corps, we have that I got your 6. You know, what does that mean? Back to back. I got your back, you got my back. But it taking that deeper, and like, you know, I believe that, you know, there's so much that is going on in our society, in our culture. And it's done a lot to emasculate men, break them down. But I heard, I've said this before, Chris Rock said that the 3 things that are loved the most unconditionally are women, children, and dogs. You know,
Oh, wow.
Father's Day is
True.
ranked number 20 in the most celebrated holidays.
I've
So
experienced that.
Arbor Day is more important than Father's Day.
Wow.
Father's Day is ranked number 20 in most celebrated holiday in the U.S.
Yeah.
Halloween's more important than Father's Day.
Yeah.
So you got men that are going through things like,
So true.
like, you know, am I making enough money? Am I being a good enough husband? Am I being a good enough father? Like, And again, I hear a lot of times like it doesn't matter your position, whether you're in church, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a pastor, whether you're a teacher, you go through things in life.
Yes.
Life
Right,
has a
right.
way of humbling you.
Mhm.
Life has a way of breaking you down.
Mhm.
But
sir.
I'm glad to be surrounded by a community that when I fall, they don't kick me while I'm down.
Right. We're not fixing.
Like we're not trying to fix me. Let me help you. Let me walk life with you. And again, I'm 35 years old. It
That's
took me
good.
35 years to realize I know nothing.
That's
Like,
right.
Truth.
and what does it mean to walk life? You look at the life of Christ throughout the Bible. He walked with people. He did life with them, and a lot of times is people don't want to do life.
Mhm.
We live in a society that's so fast paced, that's so connected by social media, yet so disconnected. Suicide rates and everything is up. How do we break that? And I knew for myself, like if there was going to be changes in my genealogy in my family, it needed to start with me. If I had to humble myself and ask for help, and
Yeah.
prior to my education, prior to going to school, I was totally against counseling. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm glad I ended up learning
Yeah,
and counseling is
that's
okay.
good.
Mhm.
That's good to say.
So having that community, whether it's your faith community, whether it's your
Mm.
family, whether, and one of my favorite professors, she used to always say, people think, she would say, the term "pick yourself up by your bootstraps."
Yeah.
What if you don't have bootstraps?
Mm.
What if all you
Mhm.
have is a chancla or no shoes at all?
Right.
How do we live life with these people? And I think
That's
that
good.
men go through so much, and you add church to it, you add family, you add employment, you add
Titles.
titles. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The inward part. God says He desires truth in the inward part.
Mhm.
In the inward part of me, I had all these titles. I had all. I mean, you want to talk about titles? I was an
Mhm.
assistant pastor at a 300-member church, preaching every other Sunday.
Mhm.
But in
Oh,
here,
George.
I was depressed. In here, I was going through things.
Yeah.
But just because I can get
Ooh.
behind the pulpit and
The
preach every
organ.
Sunday, no. At school, again, awesome student, awesome community. But in here, I was
Mm.
depressed.
Yeah.
And it was when I let that guard down, I reached out for help. It changed the dynamic of my life. That now, when I connect with other men that are going, I have that empathy, right?
Right.
Not apathy, but
Right.
empathy with them.
Right.
Like, I know what it's like.
Right.
Let's walk life together. Let's just
Right.
do life together. You can survive it. And I think the biggest thing in life is so many times we see men in pits.
Yeah.
I'm not here to throw you a ladder. Let me jump in that pit with you and let's get out together. Because I've been in those pits before where you
Yeah.
feel lonely, and again,
Let-
just God.
Let me
Yeah.
just jump in real quick and say, brother, because I want to encourage you too, because the empathy and the love that you have, man. If you can't tell already, this brother's intense.
Yeah.
There's an
fire.
intensity,
It's my
that.
third cup of coffee today.
Well, okay, you may say that, but I think that's part of how God made you.
Yeah.
To be intense, because there's some people that you run into that need that intensity. I heard somebody tell me that just the other day, they were like, I don't, if I was to die, Wade, I don't think I don't think anybody would come to my funeral. And I
Mm.
was like, whoa, first
Wow.
of all, you already thinking about death.
Mhm.
And secondly of all, you don't think that you're worth it.
That's crazy.
And so it takes an intense personality sometimes to break through that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a question though,
Yes.
because there's some brothers out there, your story baffles me.
Mhm.
It does, in a good way.
Yeah.
It does, but it's amazing how you started. Because as soon as you said it, it hit my heart, and I was like, "Whoa, that's huge!" I don't know if he realized what he said there. You said the type of home that that you lived in,
Mhm.
with your dad. I'm going back to that far, so for catching some of those people that are just joining us, at the
Mhm.
same time. But
Mhm.
you said you came up in an abusive home, but then this brother went to the Marines.
Yeah.
Brother, talk about that.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like you go to a place. I mean, you're in a place that's already intense and tight and all this, but you run to a place that's just as intense and
Mhm.
Yeah.
tough,
Mhm.
man.
Yeah,
What's up with that?
Mhm.
I think just early on in my life, I was
Just like
looking for
drama,
that.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not downing any of the other branches, but when you
Mhm.
look at Marine Corps boot camp,
Oh, wow.
it is the toughest one. It is the toughest one. Nothing against my Army, Navy, and Air Force
Yeah.
brethren. I will even throw the Coast Guard and Air Space Force in there too.
Yeah.
But Marine Corps, I think what it was is I was looking for that structure and order in my life,
Ah,
and it's funny because
That's good.
know, I had that intensity growing up with my parents and step parents, the abuse on both sides, and which, by the way, it took me. That's a whole nother topic. Years to learn how to forgive. Maybe not forgive and forget, because we're humans. We're not created to forget things,
Yes,
Right.
but to
yes.
forgive and let go.
Yeah.
And anyway, so going back to that in that intensity, right? Maybe I think so many times we get used to certain dynamics of life, like, and that's why for me it's like, I was literally beginning to repeat the same. Alcohol has run, in certain areas of my family, so I was repeating that. Thank God, I was never abusive to my children, never abusive
Yeah.
to my daughter.
Praise
I broke
God.
that,
Yeah.
but the alcohol part of me, like, that was something I inherited. Then you go on, it's like, how do you break? So we get so used sometimes to living in dysfunction
Yeah.
that we feel like when there's peace, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep in itself. We don't know. And I think that a lot of that is learning, learning to hear the voice of God, learning to education, educating yourself on the matter. And like, it's just, for me, it's like, I was looking for structure in my life at a young age, looking
Mm.
for that
Okay.
sense of belonging. Every man, I don't care. I don't care what you see on social media. I'm an alpha male. I'm an alpha dog.
Yeah.
Lone wolf. No man is an island. We're creatures we're social creatures. We
Yeah,
we
yeah.
all, men especially, we need words of affirmation. That's the truth. Whether you want to act like it or
Good
not,
stuff.
that's fine.
Good stuff.
But we all are looking for somewhere to fit in. So from my youngest until my young childhood, until I was looking for somewhere to fit in, and
Yeah.
join the Marine Corps, then joined this and did this, But we're looking for that, and it's like, how do we turn it around though, where it benefits? And you said something earlier that is why I have such a passion for community. I really believe now that everything I've gone through in life, it wasn't just for me; it was for
Right.
others.
Right.
How can I relate to someone who's
Right.
struggling if I don't have that compassion? And you
Great.
go through certain things in life so you can be a blessing to others. Like
A light.
a light. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want to come out of the flames and see people burning and just hold on to the pails of water. Let me
Right.
take that water back into the flames and help them
Yeah.
out too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it's like, as men, we have such a fixation on it being wrong to reach out. But how many men under the sound of my voice right now that are going to tune in, that are going through life things?
Yeah.
Hey,
Like
right here.
I know
the
that.
struggle
Right
of,
here,
like,
bro.
even just paying your bills sometimes,
Mhm.
Come on, brother.
or like, what are you gonna do next? Like, we go through stuff, and
Mhm.
and I thank God that, in this walk of life, again, I don't claim to know it all, but I've been through enough stuff to know one thing:
Mm.
God is real,
Right.
community is real,
Right.
and there is something powerful when you reach out. And one of my professors, she used to always say this: not everyone deserves to hear your story. There are going to be people that don't
Mm.
deserve to hear your story, but there are
Yes.
those that will hear your story,
Wow.
and it'll change the whole the whole trajectory of their life.
Yeah.
And for me, like, my goal with when I share is not because I think I know it all, because I've been so, I mean, what do you do as a man when the bullets of life hit you, and and you're just there bleeding out? I got to that point where I refuse to bleed out and die. I need to really make a change. And in that, it is, like I said, like, for me,
Yeah.
again, I'm remarried. I'm in the blended family. It changed who I was to my core. God began to do a work, an operation done without
So
hands,
good.
a restoration from brokenness, so that when I relate to people now, like the humanity, like, you begin to realize, like, man, like, the world is so full of apathy. Let me have some empathy. Let me have some genuine care, you know, and not live that life where we act like we've never gone through. Be open with what you go through. And, I think with men, is with journeymen, for example, like, again, the gatherings, and I've had friends that have come to some of the journeyman events, and just us going on these hikes, and men's mental health and spirit, connect the spirit of camaraderie, and just faith, and community. Like, it does change life. What if a man is, about to commit suicide? How can
Mhm.
we help them? Sometimes just remembering someone's name will change their life.
Yes.
Oh,
Taking the
that's
time,
good.
hey bro, how you doing? I was texting about you, thinking about you.
Mhm.
Right.
And then you start to
So
put your
good.
guard down. And I believe that if I can say anything tonight, it's that is I've learned to, like, put my guard down. It took me a very long time to learn, and let go of certain
Yes.
things. And in that, I hope to emulate the type of behavior that'll
Yeah.
So
others
good.
will want to ask for help. It's okay to
Yeah.
ask for help. It's
Yeah.
okay not to be okay.
Right.
It's okay not to be good. It's okay if you're going through things. It's okay if you're struggling. You're not alone, man.
Mhm.
Wait, you mean it's not okay to walk around with the F word on your forehead? That's not okay.
All right.
Well,
Oh, okay.
it's like so many
Mhm.
times we're taught to just push and suck it up.
Mhm.
But again, we know that doesn't work.
Mm.
Right.
Our society wouldn't be especially when it comes to men and families and brokenness and torn families and fatherlessness and absentee fathers. And it wouldn't be in the situation it's in if men had it all together. The
Yeah.
reality is we don't. And
No,
we need
that's
to reach
good.
out.
That's good. I'm gonna pause for a journeyman break in a sense of how we've been having these conversations offline, right? Not live for everybody. But every time we gather as a committee, we do this thing what we call a check-in. And this check-in is providing us a safe place to say what I committed to be accountable for. How are you doing there? Without my brother, fixing me. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and we're just gonna like play scenario it. Okay. So, um, hey guys, let's check in. Let's check in right now.
This is where I usually say I'm failing.
Yeah.
Let's just jump right to Patrick.
Yeah.
Besides Patrick.
Yeah.
But if I may add,
Yeah.
over the last year in our committee, just to talk about us as men,
Right.
we're all great friends. It took us a year
Still.
of meeting to be
Mhm.
able to check in with each other.
Right.
The walls we had to let down. And look at how much has changed.
Right.
How we're learning.
Yeah.
How to check in.
Correct.
I think too, it took a long time for us to be hardened.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time for you to be softened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. Man, Patrick comes up with some lines, man.
He needs to make T-shirts, man.
I'm telling you, I'll buy the quote book from Patrick, bro. I'll buy the quote book.
Anything
from
I
Patrick.
said, I either heard from somebody else or the Holy Spirit led me to say
Hey,
it. So I take
that's what I'm
zero.
talking about, man. You need
No,
to write those
with
down.
me, it's a bunch of. If it came from me, it's a bunch of slobbering and hiccuping. Yes, stuttering. Yes.
Oh man, no, don't chew the gum on this one because you got you come up with some good stuff here, man. But so checking in, how am I doing right now? I would say, today was a good day. This morning was a good day. This afternoon was busy. Uh, and I would voice what I'm saying, and I'm not going to do it publicly because I don't trust everybody out there yet. But checking in. So how you doing, George?
I'm ever learning every day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing good, bro. I'm if I were to check, I'm doing good.
Mhm.
I really believe that where I'm at in life, it's been a journey to get here. Now, have I obtained it all? By no means. I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
Now that I have a teenage daughter, I'm definitely learning some stuff, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't think I would be as good as I am, one, if Christ wasn't the center of my life. I like what Marvin said last week. I strive to be a godly man.
Yeah.
I strive to be a great husband and a great father. Those are my three areas of life that I care most about. And in that, it's like, how am I doing? I'm doing a lot better than I was a couple of years ago.
That's good.
I'm doing a
Mhm.
lot better than I was mentally a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And for me, in saying that, anyone that's hearing this and maybe going through some stuff in life right now, it's you're not alone.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah.
There are ups and downs. Like, again, there are times in life where things don't get easy. Sometimes
Yeah.
you feel like everything's going. I'm doing good, God. I'm being faithful.
Mhm.
I'm giving to the poor. I'm
Hold
doing
on,
good.
bro.
That and life
Yeah.
just boom hits. So
Yeah.
it's a reality.
Yeah, we're gonna go to church a little bit. Hey.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you just us asking those questions. How many men
Right.
are just waiting for someone? Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah. So
How are you doing? Like, how's
Yeah.
everything going in your life?
check in, Patrick?
I think we could show how simple this is.
Yeah. That's what I'm
But
trying to do here.
in a safe place.
Yes.
And here's another word. In a confidential place.
Yes.
This is very easy to do.
Yeah.
It can be easy to do. Checking in.
Mm.
So I always go through where am I at mentally, where am I at physically, where am I at spiritually, and
Mhm.
kind of give myself a 1 to 10 on that.
Yeah.
And I encourage people with if everything's kind of I don't even know where to start and everything's chaos. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just start with those three.
Yeah.
Where are you at physically? Where are you at mentally? And where are you at spiritually?
Mhm.
And so as a check-in, I would say mentally I'm an 8 right now.
Mm.
Today.
Mhm.
Yesterday I was about a 6,
Mhm.
but today I'm an 8. Spiritually, yeah, I'm 9.5.
Mhm.
Physically, yeah, I'm about a 2.
Mhm.
I've never heard a scale laugh before, and I got on a scale the other day,
Yeah.
and it was more of a chuckle than a laugh.
Mhm.
But yeah, something has to happen there, and that's that in itself is it's my cross to bear right now, and that's as much as we talk about drugs and alcohol, maybe even porn and the guy stuff. Like, what do you struggle with guy stuff? And I'm
Yeah.
like, eating.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but how many people are listening right now where that's kind of their thing too?
Right.
It's like you get older and it's harder to do, and I know the struggle. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. Everything else is fire. Everything else is fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. I just want to say before I say mine, I just kind of feel led to do this and just say, brother, thank you. Thank you for being real. And then also at the same time, you got this. I'm serious. You got this.
Yeah.
You guys hear that?
You got this. And I'm not making a joke about anything, but I'm just saying, like, he just shared his heart,
Yeah.
And so my prayer is that for you guys that are out there watching and listening, that he's a funny dude, but hopefully you see beyond that.
Yeah.
And you see he's got some real stuff. All of us do, like I'll put my stuff out there because I know I was already on here, but at the same time, I'm also on some other stuff, some other channels and stuff. But one of the things that I have been led to feel was forgiveness,
Mm.
struggle with forgiveness, and right after I committed to forgiveness, asking for forgiveness and forgiving people, it was like the bar got raised. Every day I
Wow.
had an opportunity to forgive
Wow.
people. I'm talking about forgiveness about relationships, racial stuff. I'm talking like, people just come just outright racist, or whatnot. And then at the same time, I got a chance to tell my story. I got a chance to talk about the people that have abused me and talk about the reconciliation that happened. And while I'm on the stage, that of the platform that I got a chance to share this with, I'm sitting up there bawling like a baby, snotting, all of that, just gross. But there was so much freedom in that. And
Yeah.
I have had the chance to go back and watch that thing 7 times and have cried every single time, which is an answer to prayer. Because I asked God this year, in beginning of January, God, I want to cry more this year.
Good.
And he has literally given me a reason to cry
That's
every
good.
time, which is something, George, that a lot of other men don't talk about.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And one major practice that we really fight hard for is to not fix the situation. My brother just shared his heart, right? My brother just shared what he's checking in on and what he's committed to being accountable for. As men, regardless, we're fixers. We are fixers. We want to fix a situation, and there's a couple pictures or memes that I've seen. How many men does it take to fix a lawnmower, right? And there's like 5 guys around there, and you can just imagine like, oh, you do this and you do that, and I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of doing that. But when we create these environments of commitment and accountability for support for one another, so my brother can live on his mission in the areas of faith, the family, and community, that's something we got to fight for. That's not to fix the situation. One, my brother doesn't need that. Now, if they ask you for that, then yeah, hey, I need this. But if he doesn't ask for it, don't do it. Try your hardest not to do it. And what we wanted to do is we just wanted to model that tonight for individuals who are seeking spaces to create, or hey man, this is somewhat raw for you. This is relating to you. It's simply as checking in and understanding that don't fix the situation. Because we know we're broken. We know we're dealing with this weakness. We know we're dealing with that. Now if my brother asked for it, sorry, I got my kids in the background. No, I'm just kidding. If my brother asked for it, then that's a different situation. So these environments of safety, commitment, accountability in these areas of faith and community, try your hardest. Try your hardest to keep that. So
Well, say
go ahead.
real quick, and that's such a powerful point in what you're saying. When a lot of times we'll say, don't fix, but we don't really like go deeper and say what fixing looks like.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah,
I
it's
believe the
good.
Lord put on my heart to do what I did
Mm-hmm.
and just say, brother, you got this. I
Yeah.
didn't say how he was going to get it.
Right. You
I
should do
didn't-
this.
I didn't tell him, give him a list of things to do. I didn't
Right.
slide him, this recipe or
Yeah.
anything like that. Or
Mhm.
I didn't, or anything. I didn't do any of that. I just let him know I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I see you. George, I think, alluded to that. I see you. One thing I didn't call was your name.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just let him feel
Yeah.
that I was here.
Yeah.
Time and eyes.
Time and us, making
Yeah.
time for each other and eye contact. And,
Yeah.
if you would have fixed it, you would have said, get on the treadmill and don't get off until you're skinny. And then I would have said, well, now you're trying to fix me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that was your issue.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
just
That's
in
good.
these spaces is like how many people just like I said, like you're just walking life with them. You're just
Yeah.
doing life.
Right.
Like I mean, I can only speak on the veteran side. They say 22 veterans a day commit suicide.
That's good.
But the statistics actually higher. They say it's about 45 a day.
My.
Who's there? Who reaches out? A check-in.
Yeah.
How a check-in can change your life.
Yeah,
How
that's
a
good.
check-in can change relationships. How a check-in, a simple text message, a simple phone call. Making time for people, making time for,
Imagine
and
that.
I think that would just our entire nation would just shift.
Right.
Our entire society as men would just shift.
Mhm.
And a lot of times is we carry that again that for being a Mexican, that machismo, like I'm good. I don't I don't need help. But
Yeah.
inside you, like you reached out. If there was no need for us to need help, and I'm gonna get a little spiritual here, there would have been no need for a savior.
Right.
If men we were okay and everything was fine and dandy, we would have not need Christ to come and die for us.
Yeah.
Just just to encourage others. I don't want to get too religious on you, but the Bible says that in all things he was tempted, so he
Yeah.
understands what you go through. And I believe that when we're strong as men, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it reflects in our families,
Yes.
in our
Yeah.
communities, in our circles,
Mhm.
in our society, at our workplace, in our relationships with our children, as
Mhm.
fathers, as husbands, and there's so much to be learned from that. And I'm telling you, man, I happen to be a girl dad. I don't know how far I would have gotten in my relationship with my daughters if I would have had this tough, constant demeanor of like,
Yeah.
suck it up.
Wow.
There's no way.
Right.
There's no way I can't. There's no way. And you know what? Especially the baby, man, she's got me wrapped around her little finger. I'm a Marine. I'm a
Yeah.
man's
She's
man,
cute,
but
man.
when I'm holding her, I'm
Yeah.
like goo goo gaga playing with her. And
Yeah.
I find myself doing dances by her playpen, trying to like you would never, but
That's
I'm
good.
learning things and just going back, even in our society, like that, those generational things that we break as we learn,
Yeah.
learning, rekindling the relationship with my father and working on the relationship with my parents and my step parents. And again, like what was their trauma?
Yeah.
What did my dad go through? What did his dad go through? And it goes on. And when we have like, I am thankful for this group Journeyman, because at my lowest, when I was, first and foremost, I will always attribute to God.
Yes.
About my favorite scripture is Romans 5:8. While we were yet sinners, in due time Christ died for us. So
Mhm.
he didn't wait till I was perfect to die for me. And I'm not here to wait for people to get perfect. Let me walk life with you. If one thing God has shown me is like people need each other.
Yes.
Society, community, we need each other. And
Well said.
no man is an island. Doesn't matter what they say on social media. We need each other. And in that, as you begin to build relationships and you begin to build bridges and you begin to really move, and again, I don't think I would have ever been able to speak into anyone else's life had I not reached out for help.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be low, like super low. Even again, in the Marine Corps, when I attempted suicide, come on, I had $42,000 in my bank account.
Mm.
I had a condo in San Diego, cars and motorcycles, and yet I still attempted suicide. So the materialistic
Talk about it,
wasn't
bro.
it wasn't enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It goes to show wherever you're at in life, there is a need for groups like this. And I believe
Mhm.
faith, family, and community, our model, German, faith, family, and community. You start building on this and just walking life, just encouraging, hey, let me be your friend. Sometimes it's just that, let's go get some coffee.
Yeah.
That'll change a life. You're not knowing what that person may be going through
Right.
behind closed doors, but taking that time. And I believe as men, as we lay down our guards. Obviously, I'm always going to be a warrior. I'm going to probably butcher it, but I like the saying. It says it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I'll always have that at me.
Mhm.
But then there's that other side of me that learning how to be a better husband, learning how to be a better father, showing my emotion, letting my daughters see that softer side of me. Doesn't make you weak.
Mhm.
Doesn't make
brother.
you a pansy. Doesn't make you
Come on,
less
brother.
than. If
Mhm.
anything, it's teaching my daughters to strengthen it.
Yeah.
And teaching others like it's okay to show love. It's okay to, I'm not governed by my emotions because we are emotional creatures, right? But at the same time, letting it down and being okay, and I really believe had I not reached out for help, had I not, first and foremost, God changing my life and education, friends like this, I don't think I would have been able to be the father or the husband I am now.
Mm.
You learn a lot through life, and you go through life and you reflect like
Yeah.
what I could have done different. We call it the what if monster. What if this and what if that? And what if this?
Right.
I can't undo the past, but you can stop cheating on your future with your past and learn. You
Mm.
can start to learn things and unlearn things. Some things
Yeah.
you have to unlearn. I had to unlearn a lot of things: cultural, spiritual, church stuff,
Mhm.
mental health stuff, community. So I had to unlearn and I had to relearn certain things, if that makes sense. And in
Totally.
that, you're just learning. And what it is, and that's when that scripture hits again. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. What does that mean? In everything, He has an order for it.
Even if you mess up.
And that's the beauty of God. That's the beauty of community.
Yeah.
Is that you're gonna have failures in life.
A
You're
safe
gonna
community.
fall.
Yeah.
Safe community. You're gonna go through things. But
Mhm.
can I be my brother's keeper?
Yeah.
I think
Can I be there?
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest roadblock that I've seen and I've heard
Mhm.
and even been through. Where why would I even try to? I see it works for you, and I see what works for you, and I see what works for you,
Mhm.
and so people have this mindset of, well, it's just that works for them, but it wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
And why would I even try to change if I've been bad for so long? What if somebody brings up my past, and what if somebody brings up, well, didn't you do this and didn't you do that? So why even try to change?
good.
Why even try to change my life? And I heard somebody say, I read it somewhere.
Here comes a quote.
Yeah, I know. No, it is. I read it. It's probably IG or something.
Hey.
But it said, no matter how good a person you are, you're the enemy in somebody else's story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
So
That deserves a round of applause, man, because that's true.
Absolutely.
Well, and even in
but,
just
but that's the roadblock to
Mhm.
people maybe listening right
Yes.
now, or in their car, or in their house listening to this, and their in their earphones
Mhm.
listening to this, is why would I even try? I've already.
Yeah.
Do you really want to hear about what people know about me and what I did? Why would I even try? Because
Right.
somebody's gonna bring up my past anyways. What would you
So
say
good.
to that?
It's funny you say that because I've tried to live my life in most recent times by this quote. I can't undo what I did in the past.
Right.
I wasn't perfect.
Nope.
Look at me. I have the scars to prove it. I was you own it. I was a former alcoholic.
Mhm.
I did go through a divorce. I did have a baby out of wedlock. I was suicidal. But there's that but God, but friends, but community,
Mhm.
and in that it's like, I may not be who I need to be, but I thank God I wasn't where I was at. And I think that inspires hope in people. It doesn't matter your past.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your past. You can have you know what? And that's the beauty of having a past. That's the beauty of brokenness. I believe that the most broken people make the greatest leaders.
Yeah.
I really believe that there is beauty in brokenness. Where the world sees brokenness as something that's discarded, it's trash, it's no good. God doesn't view us like that. He
Yeah.
finds beauty in brokenness. He finds a beauty in what you're going through because He can remake that.
Yeah.
And I believe I was destined to be another statistic. I was destined to commit suicide like every other veteran that's committed suicide.
Right.
I was destined to probably become an alcoholic for life. I was destined to maybe have been an absentee father. But in that brokenness, in that reaching out for help, crying out to my creator, crying out to God, crying out to community, something shifted.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a stigma. You know what? People are always, I don't care about my reputation. And hear me well for those that are hearing. My reputation, you're going to like me one day because I give you a sandwich, and you're going to talk trash about me because the sandwich didn't have enough mail the next day. But
Mhm.
my character is who I am at all times
Yeah.
when nobody's looking. So
Right.
I do have a past, but in that past, in those ashes there is beauty.
Yes.
You know, and I think a lot of us as men, we struggle with past failures. We hold on. I've failed too much. I've done too much.
Mhm.
You can, as long as you have breath, anyone that's hearing this, any man that you may be dealing with your past, as long as you got breath, there's hope.
Yeah.
As long as you got life, there's hope. As long as you got just a little bit of will,
Yeah.
there's hope. It doesn't matter. People are always going to talk. People are always going to hate. Let them hate. Let them
Yes.
talk. I'll take a picture with you as you're hating.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? I'll tag you on my next post. That's fine.
Please.
But in that, when I encounter others with past, it's just something beautiful when you meet other broken people.
Mhm.
You know, Paul said this, for such were some of you.
Mhm.
You know, I thank God. I used to be ashamed of my past. I used to be ashamed of many things. I remember going through what I went through in my divorce, how many in the church disowned me.
Mm.
They didn't want anything to do with me. But now I've encountered so many blended families. I would have never been able to relate. There's a story net to blended families.
Mhm.
I'm one now. I would have never been able to relate to someone who was suicidal. We go through things in life because it helps others.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna bless. And I've learned that now. Like, I didn't just go through things just for me. It's for others too. And yeah, there's always gonna be the past, but the only one I care who thinks about me, what he thinks about me, is God.
Yeah.
My past will be there, but I think in his eyes, he forgave me for my past.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
good.
I was gonna say real quick, brother. A lot of the stuff that you're saying, man, I gotta slow down because I'm caught up in your, I'm caught up in your intensity. But you know, that's what's interesting. It kind of goes to what I'm getting ready to say. Gotta slow down. Is that you are a giver. You, as men, we're givers.
Yes.
I mean, do we need to go there? I mean, sexually, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
We give, right? So we're givers. When as we give, there is a freedom that happens not only to us, but it happens to everyone around us. When we stay stuck in our stinginess and in our staying away and from people and all of that, we're stuck. And we're stuck in the muck and the mire, you know. And a lot of what you were just saying, a lot of the foundation of what you were saying, a lot of it is the fact that you kept giving.
Yeah.
You kept giving to change. You kept giving to love. You kept giving to hope. You kept giving to all these different things. And it's powerful, brother. The things that you are saying are so powerful. And I keep thinking of young men. Because it's specifically the young men that don't have fathers and the young men that were not taught to give.
Yeah.
But instead they were taught to get by the world. And so they think, oh, I get all this stuff, and then they get all this stuff, and then they're miserable.
Yeah.
You know?
We man, it's a whole another. That's an awesome point. We live in a whiffum society. What's in it for me? Give me. You know, but when man, you know, man, just our mothers, they're birth givers. They gave us life. God gave us life, breath, and I believe that even in that, in giving, there's healing. In sharing, you know, that's so good that you say that, you know, because I do believe that, again, not everyone deserves to hear your story, but there are those that are just waiting. And as you give that testimony, as you share, as you give that word of encouragement, again, you know, I'm not suicidal right now, but let's just say I was suicidal, and Patrick calls me up, hey George, I've been thinking about you. How's it going? I want to invite you to lunch. Simple. In that moment, that's something simple. He just gave life.
Right.
You know, and I believe that society is give me, get famous, get Instagram famous, go viral, go. That's not what we need right now,
right?
You know, and if I can emulate anything in giving, God, when I had nothing, God gave me His life.
Yeah.
When I was in due sin, Christ died. When I had nothing, when I was at my worst, He gave. So I've learned that
John
over the years.
3:16.
Yeah, for God so loved the world. That's a perfect example, and it's like, you know, I believe our society, like you said something, how many young men out there don't have that male father figure?
Yeah.
You know, oh man, that's a whole nother topic where as people, as men, as community, not my kid, not my problem. No, it takes a community to raise a child. You can be that giver in their life. You can be that role model. You can just do life with them, and it'll change a generation. It'll change the dynamic of a community. And I believe as men that we have to learn to just really be real. What does it mean to be real? It means you're going to uncover some ugly truth, some ugly stuff, but in that realness. When I go to the doctor, and if I had cancer, I would not want the doctor to be like, oh, I'm not going to go too deep. You're good. Just take this pill. Like, get real. Tell me what's wrong and
Right.
operate what you got to do.
Right.
We got to operate on ourselves and allow God to operate on us. And we'll see that because there are men that are looking at us. You know, when I was coming through my own issues, there were certain men I would look at and be like, man, like,
They got it all.
they got it all. What's
Mhm.
their story?
Mhm.
But you never know.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe that,
Great point.
you know, you're
So good.
you're building upon this. You're building upon this, and God is really doing something. I really believe there is a shift coming because, again, you know, I truly believe that more than ever, community based, you know, getting back into the community is ever needed. There's
Yeah.
so much going on. You know, I
Mhm.
deal with it daily with what I do with nonprofits, whether it's absentee father, child abuse, domestic violence, suicide, mental health, hurt,
Wow.
in and out of the church. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
What can we do? And if I keep my story to myself, how am I not going to give hope to others? Now, I'm not the hope. Christ is the hope, but you can
Mhm.
inspire hope in others and
That's
sharing
right.
and,
That's
you know,
right.
just being there, you know, just doing life and not trying to fix them. Just do life.
Yeah, and I think that's a key thing, man. It's just we're all working to strengthen our weaknesses, and that's why how we voice it. And again, it's what we want to voice in that space at that time, at that moment, not to force, not to. I know this. You should say this.
That's good.
Nah, it's what we know. One of our weaknesses is X, and so when we commit to that accountability, that's accountability. Like I'm gonna say this publicly, and this is what I'm committed to, and you stay there. What that's gonna do, that's gonna drive some of you into a place where it's like either one, you're gonna go back into your hole and say, "Crap, I messed up. Crap," or you're gonna come back out and say, "You know what? This past week, I didn't get through it." Are you gonna have brothers that are gonna judge you? Are you gonna have men that are gonna, "You should have did this"? We don't need that as men. We don't need that. We know our what we failed on. There's this word that I like to use. It's grace.
Well,
That's a bad word, right? Grace. So I
You
think
mean
that
God is great, God is good,
right, exactly.
and we thank Him for our food?
Come on, grace.
Oh,
Where is the grace? So these environments that Journeyman is trying to establish is for individuals like yourself, like myself, no matter what level of success you may have in man's eyes,
wow.
it doesn't matter. We're all human. We are all going through different things. And this journey that we're walking on is that one is we are committed to strengthening our weaknesses, but we also have some good strengths that we can share. And that's where the scripture comes in, Proverbs 27:17.
I just
So
got to read this as you said that. And I
Wow.
think that's the biggest key to why we see a lot of men that struggle because I've been there. You know, one of the risk factors is social isolation. You isolate yourself. You go
That's
back
right.
into that hole. You know, substance abuse, unemployment, related military trauma, genetic predisposition, mood factors, whatever, suicide, these isolation that
yeah.
comes in.
Mm,
And you
mm.
know, for us, you know, we have our journeyman committee where we meet monthly. We have our check-in. We meet for breakfast every third week. Think about how much that has changed just in the last year
Right.
as you build up to it. And again, even the disciples walked with Christ for 3 years. He saw every aspect of their
Yeah.
lives, the good, the bad, the ugly.
A lot
You
of the
know,
ugly.
a lot of the ugly.
Mhm.
But he worked with them. He walked life with them. And I think that's what we as followers of Christ should strive to do. You know,
Right.
a lot of times you see a good brother, someone fall and they'll get disowned, they'll get talked about, their family, whatever it is. I've been there. I've been
don't
there where you
belong.
fall and you don't belong somewhere and they turn their back and you feel lonely.
Mm,
What would happen if it was opposite? You know,
Yeah.
any of us at any given time can fall in life.
That's
Right.
right. That's
Whether you're a
right.
pastor, whether you're a bishop, whether
Been
you're a
there.
CEO,
Mhm.
whether
Mhm.
you're a multimillionaire, whether you're just everyday Joe, any of us at any given time can fall. The Bible says pride comes before the fall.
Mm.
How do you want to be treated in those situations? I think a
Yeah.
lot of times men fail, they fall, and we look down on them instead of let me help you up. Let
Yeah.
me be there for you because I can be there. Or I've been there, you know, and
Mhm.
just doing life without you know, you guys said it. You said it, bro. The past. We're reminded enough by our past. We're reminded enough by the enemy of our life to what we were. But when someone falls and just being there, just let me help you up, brother. Let me do life with you. Let me just be your friend. Let me just do there.
And
You had, Pat, you had a quote this morning. I don't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, no.
you had a quote this morning that you said in your session. It was about the podium. What was that? The podium?
Oh, the higher the pedestal.
What is that? Say
Yeah,
that.
the higher the pedestal, the longer the fall.
That's good.
Yeah, and I say that out of experience.
Yeah, that's so good.
I say that experience. And I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm
so
sorry,
never
man.
mind.
I'm
It's fine.
sorry.
Yeah.
Why you when Jose was
Have a
mentioning
class.
Yeah.
when Jose was mentioning about grace,
Yeah.
a revelation hit me just that quick. Grace is, if you take the G and just spell out God, it's God's race.
That's good.
It's not ours.
That's right.
It's His race. That's what grace is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it, and when it's His race, you can't earn it.
Yeah.
So just
That's good.
grace. You said something. Again, I can only I've known him the longest. I love you guys, but I've known him the longest, right? But
Nah, bruh. Nah, just kidding. I don't forgive you. No, I'm just kidding.
5 years ago,
I'm never buying you lunch again.
Let's go. Yeah, you do buy me lunch quite often. He takes me to the taco truck.
Hey.
No, but listen. So 5 years ago, when I went through what I went through,
Yeah.
and I'm being transparent. When the church turned its back on me, when friends turned its back on me, when family turned its back on me,
Mm-hmm.
when there was no grace, I felt, my brother here, he showed that grace, and I believe that in that simple friendship, I could have gone darker. I could have gone back to who I used to be, turned to the alcohol, turned to even worse things, right?
Yeah.
But that grace that was shown on me showed me one thing, is that there are people out there that's all they need is that extension of grace,
Right.
And if I'm Christ-like, I should be full of it. But so many times we forget where we come from. We forget what we've been through. We've obtained, and in that, it's like, how do we extend that grace? And that's all some men may need. Brother, I don't have the answer. I know you're going through it, but let me just be there for you. Let me just be your friend. I don't know how many conversations I've had with military friends of mine. Some may be even here right now, that just that random thought to call them and to know that the day before they were struggling with suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts. Just taking that time just to talk with someone, or friends in the community that may be going through some crazy stuff. Like, you would never know, but you're just being there. It changes dynamics, and I believe it encouraged you to reach out for help. And when I realized I had a friend, I had a brother, when I realized there was a community that can be there for me, it was easier to start asking for help.
Yeah.
It was easier to be vulnerable. It was easier to be like, you know what, I'm not doing too well right now. You're right, I'm not doing good. The mask that I live in, I may have it all put together, but this is what I'm going through. And for me, in sharing my story, my encouragement to many that may be hearing, or others that hear this later on, is like, you may be going through some things. You may be going through some financial difficulties. You may be going through some marital problems, or even men who go through domestic violence will never say nothing, right? You may be going through certain things, or suicidal thoughts. Like, you're not less than if you reach out for help. I'd rather sit on the phone with you and talk to you for hours, or take you out to coffee every day, than you end it all. That's that love, that grace for our communities, for others.
So good.
This whole idea of like, it's not my problem, not my problem. It really is. It affects us all.
Yeah.
Because we can all at one time relate to a time in our life when we were so low and someone extended that grace.
Yeah.
How can I reciprocate that? So many relationships in this world are transactional. No, they need to be reciprocated. Like, you help, you love, and I believe that would really change men, and it changes everything. Again, learning and unlearning certain things helped me become the husband who I am today. Do I have it all together? No way. I'm still learning how to be a husband. If I was perfect, I would have never gone through a divorce. If I was perfect, I would have never had a baby out of wedlock. If I was perfect, I would have never committed suicide. But in that and learning, look, now that God's given me more, I learned to take care of my wife. I learned to love on my daughters. I learned to be real. I learned to ask for help when I need it.
Right.
And this guy's checked me a few times. When I don't like it, I'm like, bro, you better.
Takes one to know one.
My eyes all twitching. He's like,
Right.
but I need that. That iron sharpens iron. Walking life. Like, there's times where I've gone, with Patrick, and I'll speak to his students. There I am teaching on mental health, and then we go have lunch. That's healing. Times where Wade's checked on me. It's that building that community.
Yeah.
We're blessed to have this. How many other men out there need this?
Yeah.
You may say, "Oh, I don't need it. I'm good." That's not true. There are certain factors in life that hit us all.
Yeah.
All of us.
I think also when we're even when we close this up,
Yeah.
this story that George has is really the tip of the iceberg. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to give your whole life testimony in an hour and a half. And so I just encourage anybody watching, anybody listening, reach out if you want to hear George talk, if you want to hear his testimony. I joked last time that I was his manager, his promoter, but no, it really, he makes
Yeah.
he makes time. He makes himself available.
Mhm.
And I heard somebody say one time that the mess eventually has to become the message.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the things in his life have been messy.
Yep.
He admits that, but it's a great message. So schools, business meetings,
Yeah.
vets, of course, and hopefully we'll touch on that on our roundtable.
Yeah.
But it's a story that more people than just us need to hear.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your honesty and your transparency,
Yeah,
brother. I love
appreciate
you to
that.
death, man.
Yeah, no,
That's
most
good.
definitely. And in that, I know, we're probably out of time, but it's like I used to be ashamed of sharing being real, but it's like there's nothing to be ashamed about because the reality is life, and God has called us to be open and just be real, and I've learned that, and it's funny, how in the times that I've gotten to speak to your students and others in the campus, it's like how many later on, just they've opened up and you begin to work. Man, there are people that are hurting, there are men that are waiting, and I'm not afraid to get messy. I'm not afraid to jump in the mud and the muck and the mire with you because, that's the reality of life. Life is messy sometimes. Like Wade said, it doesn't get better just because you get God. I mean, it gets, I can have joy in the storm. Like Pat said, Patrick, all these quotes go out there, write them down and make some t-shirts. But it's like, it's just the realness and the rawness of life. And I believe that's what people, everything's so fake, bro. Society, as far as social media, like you filters and this and the fake life, but what's really going on in here? What's really going on in here? How can we relate life? How can journeymen continue to change our atmospheres? I know for those of you that are listening, we have quarterly events. When we had that event at my house, we had about 60 men from community come. And it was funny because in the beginning of it, nobody was talking. Nobody was just sitting there at the tables waiting for the food.
Awkward.
But as the conversation began to go and people started sharing life, I couldn't get them to leave my house. I was like, y'all need to go, bro. You know what I'm saying? But what does that do? It builds community and you start building relationships and friendships because I'm going to butcher it, but the Bible says that a brother is born for the day of adversity.
Yeah.
And things happen. So I believe that as we continue to emulate this, like, I'll be the first one to say I don't have it all put together, but I've learned to ask for help. I've learned what humility is. Life has a way to humble you, but once you learn humility, you can't humiliate a humble man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you learn this. Like it's maybe you're not doing good right now. You're in a season where all hell is breaking loose in your life. Well, let me tell you, there's still hope. There's still hope. There's still hope. You can do this. Let's walk life together. There's a God in heaven that hears you. There's a community that cares about you. You don't have to end it all. You have purpose. You have life. There's a purpose for your life, man. There's a destiny for you. And that's my encouragement because my time was up a long time ago. I can honestly say that I'm living on borrowed time from God, and this borrowed time that I want to use it to let others know that it doesn't matter where you're at. There's always going to be a second, third, and a fourth chance.
Great. Yeah. No, that's good. Pat, you got anything else?
So
Speak up a little bit.
Yeah, it's the for everybody the Veterans in Action.
Yeah.
Veterans. Can you just brief over that?
Yeah.
And as the last time I said something, you said it was already on the screen, so I don't want to say it again.
No.
So the organization I represent is called Veterans in Action Incorporated. Again, we're just a group of veterans and civilians that we work within community. I've had the privilege when I met Patrick, I've gone to speak to his students at the Institute of Technology, nursing students. We speak on, share a little bit of stories, mental health, suicide prevention, community. We work with foster youth. It's just a little bit of everything. We are a faith-based organization. We are just doing what we can for our community. So if just right now, for example, we're doing a toy drive for, that's a whole nother topic, man. It's pretty cool having men that have reached the humility in some of these men that have reached out. Hey, I can't afford gifts for my kids right now.
Yeah.
I would have never reached out when I needed help. And it's so awesome to see that they're able to reach out. So we've been giving gifts to families that don't have gifts. We just gave a couple of families some microwaves and some heaters, things like that. We're just getting involved in the community. And guess what? All of us veterans and civilians that are on our board, we're all broken people. We all have a past. but we love God and we love people and we want to change it. So
Yeah.
you can follow us on Instagram. It's she's putting it up, veterans _ action _ incorporated Inc. We have events coming up. We're doing toy drives, and maybe
Awesome.
we did a homeless drive. There's a lot of homelessness going on in our county. There's a lot of mental health. There's a lot going on, and there's just healing and getting involved in community. Sharing the gospel, living the gospel, and yeah, we would love to definitely have you. We've gone and spoken at. I got to speak actually at my daughter's school, the junior high and high school students who were going through a lot of mental health depression post pandemic, and got to
Big
speak to a
deal.
lot of these students, and it just seeing these young people, their whole demeanor changing. Like there's so much doing. So follow us on Instagram, and we love for you to be a volunteer. We love for you to get involved, and we just want to build community and build bridges.
Yeah. Oh man, I appreciate that,
Sounds good.
George. Yeah, man. So we're over time, but I believe this was again like the story that George holds. It's a powerful story, and an hour and 20 minutes can't do enough justice. And just like what we want to do is we want to bring content to you all as organic as possible. This is not edited. This is not so
I
if we say it's
know.
on the internet, so it's not edited. And why? Because there's so many spaces where you just have to put on your tie. You have to put on your mask. You have to put this title on. Each one of us are world changers in here. But when we step into the ring together, we're equal. We're getting to that point where we're equal. And as men, we like to dominate. We like to be, and that's cool. There's going to be moments of bragging. There's going to be moments where George can shoot the gun better than me. I know that for sure. But one thing for sure is that we're on this journey of life, and we're committed and accountable to one another.
Yeah.
If something happens to my brother, it's going to affect me. If something happens to me, it's going to affect him. So that's important, and so that's that accountability aspect of what we're saying here. So, man, I'm excited. Thank you, George. Let's give another George a round of applause. Appreciate you, bro. It's good stuff. So as we do every podcast, man, we're just gonna go around the room and kind of close it out with a last closing thought, man. And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna jump in with Wade and ask him, man, any last closing thoughts, comments?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think that I learned tonight is that you learned how to fight different.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
That was
Look,
good.
Patrick, what you got, man?
I noticed in George's story and even in Brother Wade's story, the word of forgiveness was thrown out there more than once tonight. And I was talking to George and a while back, and I remembered somebody telling me once again that the choice to forgive, can be immediate, but the feeling of forgiveness might take some time. And so that's something that I've had to learn in my life.
good.
But you've made that choice, and the feeling will come in time. But I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
as he's telling his story, I used to tell people it's one of my favorite Bible verses, but no, it is my favorite Bible verse. And the Apostle Paul that had been beaten, he had been lied about, he had people brought up his past, he, you name it, he went through it. And in Philippians 1:12, he says, "I tell you, brothers and sisters, everything that I'm going through has only served to advance the gospel."
That's good.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Wow, that's good.
And so listening to
Man,
your story,
Patrick, I'm
listening
telling you, bro.
listening to
Sorry.
your story, everything I've been through, brothers and sisters, has only served to advance the gospel. And I can see biblical scripture working in your life. So I thank you for that.
Thank you,
That's
bro.
good, man. But George, any last closing thoughts,
I'm gonna just
quotes?
read again. Like again, just
Give it to him.
it's okay to be broken, to be restored, man. You're looking for that brotherhood, that tribal closeness, that unity. We're journeyman. We don't have it all together, but
No,
you've learned. And if I can just leave you with anything tonight, it's like you're not alone. And I've always say this every podcast: God has a plan. God has a purpose for your life.
Yes.
It doesn't matter your past. It doesn't matter where you come from. That as long as you wake up every day, there's new hope. His mercies renew every morning. And take it from someone. I have failed in church and I have failed out of church. Believe it or not, I have fallen as a Christian. I know that's scary.
What?
Yes. I don't have it all put together, guys. Yes, that's
done.
right. I go to church and guess what, guys? I don't have it all put together. There's no halo on my head.
come on.
But in that brokenness, man,
Mhm.
I've really learned one thing is that God really does have a purpose for us all. And
Yeah.
I look forward to more community events as we continue to build Journeyman, and just know that it's okay to be broken, to be restored.
Right.
That's my encouragement to you tonight.
Yeah, no, I appreciate George and your story, man. I get to know a lot more of you, and I'm thankful for that. And just to hear one thing that I heard tonight is, um, I think the journey of life can relate with many of you watching this story specifically. This intentional conversation about um, real life issues that you are dealing with in your home, even if you're a young man right now. You may have heard something tonight that really kind of just struck you. But this is a journey. Your future could be different. There's things in your life that can change at moments of time if you're willing to take that step. And so, man, thanks for taking the step for many, not just for yourself,
Thank you for having me.
but for your daughter.
Yeah.
For
My 3 daughters.
your 3 daughters.
Man.
3 daughters.
Yeah, 3
Woo.
daughters.
That look was
Yeah.
priceless, brother.
we got
Yeah.
one on the way. My wife's
Yeah.
due in April.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
praying to the Lord.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
If it's another girl, I'm stopping. If it's a boy, I'm still stopping.
Hey.
But
Yeah.
the Lord has a sense of humor, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if it's a girl.
Right. And so, yeah, and just thank you for that. Thank you for giving, marriage another chance too. Thank you for that. And last but not least, but thank you for serving our country, man.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's a huge deal. I respect that. All veterans, you are all taking risk out there, man, and serving a country, fighting for freedom, fighting for things that you just know you don't know what it is, but you're serving it. And I honor our vets. I honor people like that, man. That's a big deal. I'll share this last story real quick in 2 seconds. I actually went out I went out to be a Marine, and I'm just gonna share it. They just told me, "Hey, bro, you're too fat." But I mean, I was in high school, so I was also exploring things, right? And I went. It was actually I don't know. Oh wait, so I'm not lying. It was the Army. Sorry, because it was over there off of Stanford Avenue. Is that the Army? Is that
All
Army
of
or
them
is
are
that?
there. All of them.
Oh,
are there.
okay. So it was there, and I was pumped, dude. And then well, they use the excuse of, oh, you had a blow knee, because I just had in football I busted my knee out. And so I guess you can't have no broken bones. That's what the lie they told me. But but
I
anyhow,
almost went Navy.
yeah,
I almost went Navy.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the world knows that now, but it's not going to be edited. But man, I thank you.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for sharing your heart and sharing your story. And again, men out there, we can't be everywhere at all time, but we would love to help develop, spaces like this for you. Our email contacts there. We'll share what we know. We all have access to Zoom. If you need somebody to connect with, we're not fixers. We're not a mental health provider. We're not a counselor. We're not any of that sort. We're not a service provider. But what we like to say is we want to create environments of safety. And what does that look like for you? Let's develop it together. So
Faith, family, and community.
yeah.
Good job, George.
Yeah, thank you, man.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. And again, the last 2 weeks of the year, enjoy your family. We'll be back in January. Next Thursday at 6 o'clock, we're gonna have another member of the committee, a younger version, I guess you would say, to hear his mind. Devin Martinez. He's into. I don't know. I guess he's an influencer. He's got thousands of followers. So, I think that's part of, just seeing from his lens and in the space as such, and other things in his story and so forth. So excited to have him next Thursday with us. So tune in at 6 p.m.
And if Jose continues to use me as an Uber driver, I will be here too.
That's awesome. All right, y'all. We'll see you next Thursday. Take care.
But today we must take a wider look. Because of modern communication and modern technology, the whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.